Hello everyone, Theophilus here. Welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. So, as you may or may not have noticed, I've deleted all my videos and I plan to restart. Now I'm going to give an explanation as to why I did what I did and what I plan to do moving forward. I had about 118, maybe 120 videos. Most of them ranging from 30 minutes to an hour, just me kind of talking. And I was averaging probably about 2 views a video, which is okay, I think. First and foremost, I will say it was a bit of a rash decision. It was a bit rash. But I just got tired of bearing in mind the mistakes that I've made along the way and wanting to have a bit of a fresh start before my channel actually kind of took off. Then people could go back and trace back, and I mean, flaws are needed, flaws are necessary. You have to make mistakes in order to learn, and I'm glad for the experience that I have had, but I don't want to keep a lot of the things on my channel that I have had. Is it possible I'll make the same mistakes again? Yes. Was it a bit rash to delete all of my videos? Yes. Now I do have the files for I think 5 or 6 of my most recent videos. I may re-upload them, may or may not, but I do have my reasons as to why I did it. So firstly, I feel that I needed a restart, right? In a lot of my beginning videos, like I have introduction videos where I basically talked about who I am. My name is Theophilus. I talk a little bit about like my past, my upbringing, things like that, what life was like for me, the different struggles that I had, the different, bad habits that I had, and the ways I kind of got into self-development and spirituality to different measures, right? And how I'm taking the things that I'm learning and I'm using them to build a more disciplined, focused, self-development, entrepreneurial kind of mindset. And I talked about these things in depth, sometimes for an hour. And I just talked and talked, and I felt like I had a lot to say, so I need to get it all out. So I need to keep pumping out all these videos. Sometimes I'd be making 3-4 videos in a day. Sometimes I'd make like 1 a week. Sometimes I'd make like 2-3 a day. And though I did a lot of talking, there was a lot of good information. To this day, I think I may have had like 3 comments. So there are a lot of people that were just looking and maybe listening and not really commenting. I think I had maybe, how was it? I didn't get like, basically, it wasn't really hitting the algorithm. People weren't really listening, or if they were listening, I wasn't getting any feedback. Except for one guy that really pointed out that I misspelled a word on one of my titles, which is good. It's good that that was done. But while I'm not getting that much, like, I guess, attention and views, likes, and all that, I just wanted to do it the right way before it started getting big, and then people could go back and see, like, wow, this guy really probably shouldn't have said that. You kind of get where I'm going with this, all right? I talked a lot about myself and personal life and things like that. And while I don't mind talking about myself, I don't want it to be so focused on my past, my failures, my imperfections, etc. Right? Or even like bad habits that I have done in the past, or bad habits I can still struggle with depending on my mindset, what I'm going through, how I choose to deal with the stress that I'm bearing, etc. Choose, keyword. And, of course, when you're trying to get on self-development in some measure, where you're like, whether you're more serious and focused, like you're trying to build an entrepreneurial mindset, or you're like not as focused, you're not as really disciplined, maybe you're just trying to like look good to like get girls or something like that. Which, it's good, but it's not really something that's gonna help you. Well, it can be a trap. You can waste a lot of time on just trying to look good and get girls, and even having women when you have options. I've had a measure of that. It's a very small measure. Like having women look at me and be interested in me. Small measure, very small measure. And a little bit that I have, I've already seen that that can be a trap in and of itself, right? You want to be careful who you're sleeping with. You want to be careful who you're building some kind of relationship with. You want to be cautious about all those things and be ready to see the traps coming so that when the traps come, you don't go do and fall right into it. Like a cartoon character, a silly cartoon character that just slip on the banana peel that's like right in front of them. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be making those kinds of mistakes. And if you do make those mistakes, and if you're conscious that you might make those mistakes, you have to be ready to deal with the consequences of making said mistakes, right? So I'm just trying to take precaution as well with all these other things, and I don't want to get caught up, and I don't want you to get caught up either. You know, looks maxing and stuff. That's good. That's good. But you want to move past that. You don't want to be stuck there. And I believe that getting into like entrepreneurship is like the next step, right? If you're like going to the gym, if you're comfortable like being around women, if you have men that are friends with some kind of masculinity, that's good. But you want to move past that. You don't want to be stuck there. You don't want that to be the end. And you don't want to make a little bit of progress and self improvement and then you like slip up. You get caught up with some girl that's not good for you, and you end up wasting years of your life. You don't want to end up in one of those traps. And I'm going a bit on a tangent, a detour, but I just feel like saying that. Like there's a way a lot of people can get into self improvement, but they're not really serious. And it shows in that maybe they grind really hard for a few months, but then they fall off. And entrepreneurship is like that skill gap. It's like that next level of really developing yourself and really becoming masculine, really becoming a man. Like it's good if you can lift heavy weights and you're comfortable around people. That's good. But you want to move past that. I'm gonna end that there. But I want to be more focused. I want to focus more on like a disciplined mindset, an entrepreneurial mindset. And I don't want to just get caught up with the distractions or even the bad habits. Like the more you talk about something, the more power you give it, right? This is an example I thought about in my mind. Oh, sorry about that. I like Andrew Tate. That's probably going to make a lot of people. I probably forced a reaction out of you by simply saying that. Probably forced some kind of emotional reaction out of you just by saying I like Andrew Tate. And some of you know that he actually just lost a fight to Chase Demore, and he goes and he talks about it, and the wisdom and understanding this man has, it's unlike most people. Most people don't know how to take a loss. Like I just scrolled on my feed for like 30 seconds. There's like 10, 15, maybe even 20 videos all talking about this. The deserved fall, the deserved downfall, and all this. For people that are never going to be as successful as him, that have never built the mindset that he's built. And yeah, he's took a loss, but he's keeping it moving. He's keeping it pushing. He's not just downcast and giving up. He's actually giving knowledge, and he's actually earned respect from not only Chase Demore, but a lot of people that initially didn't like him. I don't want to go too in depth about that. I actually plan to make a video about that, maybe right after this. But yeah, there's a lot of wisdom that he shared. Small side rant. One thing he said is that you can't undo moves in life. And he used the analogy that life is like chess, and it's a very brilliant analogy. It's, I'm speaking to men specifically. Unfortunately, if you're a woman, it is what it is. But specifically as a man, life is like chess. If the king dies, life is over. As long as you don't die, there's other moves you can still make on the chessboard. You don't want to trap yourself into a place where you're probably going to die, but you have to keep it moving. You have to know, okay, I've been forced into this move, but what can I do now? This happened. I can't undo it. How do I move forward? And that's something most people don't really think about. Some maybe older folks kind of have that mentality and that mindset and that understanding, but a lot of us don't have that. A lot of times we get, like, say we'll lose, whether it's a fight or typically something more deeply circumstantial, something that's going to change the trajectory of your life, whether you like it or not, and then we just give up. And people, they give up or they become like addicts or something, and they just destroy their life because they can't handle the stress of getting back up and keep and fighting again, living to fight another day. And that's what's happening with me. A lot of things are going on in my life, and I don't plan to talk about those things very much, but it's not about if you fall. Unless it's dying in battle, right? Unless it's physically dying. It's not about if you fall. Because the reality is that the greatest fall. He mentioned Napoleon. I know I'm still going on a tangent, but I wanna bring this around to a point. We know Napoleon. I think he was a short guy too. Man, like, a lot of us know who Napoleon is. Like, this man fought hard to conquer the world, and he lost. He lost, but he was resilient. We're gonna lose eventually. You can't win every battle. You can't win them all. But it's about two things. When you lose, how hard do you keep fighting? Do you fight until, as it were, your last breath? Do you fight until your legs are so physically weak that you can't stand up anymore? How hard do you fight? When you start losing, do you just give up? Or do you keep going? You keep fighting, knowing I might lose, but I'm going to give it my all. I'm not going to go down fighting. And that's what we saw in that fight. Even though this man was bigger and I think over 15 years younger. This man that's like pushing 40. And he's tired, and the man's like, it just seemed like a clear tactic. He just kept leaning on him and wearing him out because he's just leaning on him, and he has to carry him and push him off of him, or the referee came and pushed him. He grabs him and leans on him again. He kept doing it, and he was just wearing him out. But this man kept fighting. He kept fighting. And it's not about if you lose, because you're going to lose eventually. But how resilient are you? How tough of an opponent are you? Are you that guy to where, like, oh, he takes a few licks and he's done? Or are you that guy that's going to keep fighting and he's not going down without a fight? Think about this in the world, right? If a bully picks on a kid and he knows as soon as he picks on the kid, this is kind of a, harsh example, but still true. If he knows he can just pick on the kid and the kid's not going to do anything, he's going to pick on that kid. But if he picks on the kid, then he knows, hey, that kid's going to stand up for himself and maybe I can beat him up. But he's still going to take some licks. He's probably going to hit me back a good time or two. If that bully knows, hey, I'm still going to go down without a fight. Or if it's 3 men and that's 1 man, and I think, hey, us 3, we could probably jump this man, but he's going to he's gonna try to get a good few licks in. Like, he's gonna try to hurt one of us. So we would rather not fight this man than fight this man, and it's possible one of us could get hurt. You get what I'm saying? How resilient of an opponent are you? And when you fall, how fast can you get up and keep going? How consistently can you do that? How much can you do that consistently? He said that top G is for top get up. Gets back up. Right? So I made the decision to delete my channel, and I have other things going on in life. Right? You could say life has knocked me down in some way. But what am I going to do? I can't undo the moves that I've done. But what can I do now? Well, I'm restarting. There's reasons why I deleted the videos. There's reasons why I'm going to keep going. Right? But the more you talk about something, the more power you give it. So back to the point I was mentioning. I was mentioning Andrew Tate. Just the mere mention of the name of the man brings it's powerful because so many people talk about him. I can mention another man, Donald Trump. I'm not here to get political. I don't even have much of a political affiliation. My views might be seen as more conservative, but I don't really care to get into that right now. But the mention of the man's name, there's power because so many people speak about him, right? This is why haters are like counterproductive. They like shooting themselves in the foot because the more they talk about the person, the more famous the person is going to become. So if you really want to stop them, then y'all need to stop talking about the person that you don't like and stop giving them so much power by bringing their names up over and over again. But I want to do this with myself. I don't want to keep talking about my circumstances or my upbringings or the things I've gone through, the stress I've dealt. I wouldn't say I've dealt with a whole lot of trauma. Maybe some muscle trauma here and there, but I don't want to talk about that. If I'm injured, maybe I'll talk about how to heal from the injury, how to not push yourself from the injury, and acknowledging that, hey, an injury can be hard, but am I going to glorify the injury? Is my body physically broken to where my bones are crushed and there's no possibility of the body healing? No? Well, then I shouldn't glorify it. It's a part of life. You gotta keep going. Right? Someone could talk about how hard it is being broke, or how hard it is being like lonely and not having a companion. But are you gonna glorify that circumstance that you're in, or are you gonna think and talk about how to get out of that circumstance? You know what I'm saying? So I've done this a lot with my past, and I don't want to continue doing it because I don't want to give it so much power. Yeah, some of us have been dealt a bad hand. Yeah, some of us didn't have the best upbringings, but what does talking about it so much do? What good does it do for you? So I want to focus more on discipline, right? Though I mentioned those two men. I mentioned them. But I don't want to focus on political narratives right now. Maybe not so much. Maybe I'll make a focused video here and there about political narratives and what I believe to be psyops and things like that. But political narratives, controversial things, or even talking about the distractions, right? If I talk about how powerful scrolling TikTok is for an hour and I talk about how powerful it is, maybe that'll get clicks and views, but it's not really going to help the circumstance. I can tell you how I got over whatever social media addiction I have had in the past. How it's easy for me to get up, and the first thing I do is get up, make coffee, meditate, cold shower, journal. Then I start my day. And how much better I feel doing that than waking up and TikTok. To where even if you're scrolling TikTok as you're watching this video, you think, okay, I've scrolled this much, but what am I going to do now? I'm just going to feel sorry for myself just because I've wasted. You have wasted time. Yeah, you've been frying your dopamine receptors, but how do you change it? How do you fix it? That's the real thing you probably really want to talk about, right? I don't want to just talk about distractions and things like that. Um, I also want to talk about where I'm at. Like I want to, example, a lot of I guess red pill influencers talk a lot about dating and female nature, and it's been talked about so much that most people kind of know it in the back of their minds. People call hypergamy, basically just meaning that women want someone that's on their level or better, and probably better. And because of social media, because of third wave feminism, etc., women have very inflated egos, and their standards have reached the tippity top of what they could possibly, not what they could possibly imagine, but their standards have gone up really high. It makes it to where the average man, it's hard for the average man to even consider dating as an option. And he probably shouldn't be considering dating as an option at all. Like, dating seriously probably should not be an option at all. You can be open to it. You can be open to it. But that shouldn't be what he's spending his time thinking about. Right? So, that is true. Right? But what would I sit up in the I've spent a lot of time looking into these things. What would I sit up here and talk about? How to get women. No, I didn't do this on my channel, and I didn't plan to do this, though I've looked into these things a lot. I've spent many hours looking into them. I don't plan to talk about that until I'm at a place where I actually have options, right? Not that I don't have any options at all, but if you're a young man, you don't have your finances in order, you don't have any perceived status or value by society, you're just not going to have that many options. That's just the reality, you know? Even if you're an attractive guy, you're like 6 feet tall, you have blessed with good genetics, right? And you even have a naturally good physique. You have abs and a decent amount of muscle mass without even really, even if you have all that, and women are wanting you sexually, you still have to deal with the circus. You still got to deal with all the modern BS that society wants you as a man to deal with. If you don't have your finances in order, it's a matter of time before one comes along and gets you caught up. It's a matter of time before something happens that really stresses you out or really traumatizes you or whatever, right? So until you have your finances in order, I don't think that dating seriously should even be really an option. And when you start to have options, you want to be wise about how to sift and siphon through all those options wisely, not just being picky, but wisely, and not get caught up. But I'm not even there yet, so why would I spend a lot of time talking about that? I spent maybe a minute or two talking about it right now, but I don't plan to make full on videos about it, right? I don't plan to make a whole lot of content about it if that's not my present reality, right? I have a little bit of muscle mass. Ooh, a little bit of muscle mass. I was not blessed with height. I capped that out at about 5'5". I don't plan to get into that so much. I think the whole thing is overblown, and it's kind of sad that people spend so much time focusing on that. Even though it is a reality, like height is a preference and an advantage and all that, but it's not the end all be all. But once again, I don't want to focus on making content about, say, getting into the gym if I'm not there. You see what I'm saying? If I make content, I want to make content about where I'm at presently. Mostly. Maybe I'll talk about the future, but I don't want to emphasize on it. I don't want that to be priority. I don't want to talk about how to get to a 300-pound bench press if my max was like, I don't know, maybe 220, something like that. Some say, hey, that's weak. I'm gonna get there eventually, but I do have priorities. Got a lot of BS to deal with before I can get to a point to where I can consistently do that. But you get what I'm saying. I've said a lot of words, but I think you get what I'm saying. I don't want to talk about things that I'm not presently dealing with. I don't want to make it an emphasis to focus on things that are out of my reach right now. Right? One of the last things I'll say is that I made a video about Charlie Morgan. Charlie Morgan is an entrepreneur who made a free 80-hour entrepreneurial course about basically how to get to six figures and then how to make decent wealth with online entrepreneurship. I do still plan to get into that and stay focused on that and talk about the mindset and the things that I've learned in the midst of that. And I think one or two of my videos I may have talked about those things. I plan to get back into that, but I need to be more focused in what I talk about. I could talk about many things. My mind, I've studied different things and looked into different things, but I want to be more crystallized and more focused. One of my priorities I want to have is an entrepreneurial mindset and focusing on finances. I think that should be a young man's priority over everything. Perhaps even over going to the gym. Though for both you need a strong mind. And when you're making a strong body, you often have to create a strong mind in order to be able to consistently build that body without giving up. And I would say online business is like a step up from that. You have to build that business, and you could say it's harder. But so that was my little opening rant for my new start of my channel. And you can let me know if you want me to recover anything that I've talked about previously. If you have any thoughts, any questions, anything like that. If you have any critiques as well, I'm open to them. And just plan to take it one day at a time. To consistently make as much progress as I can every day. To keep working every day consistently. To document that progress. To crystallize, analyze what I've learned. Practice what I've learned. Learn to teach what I've learned. And to use what I've learned to keep learning. So that's my plan with the new start of my channel. I apologize for the inconvenience. I plan to do better consistently. And I look forward to my next few videos. Let me know if you see any improvements. I don't plan to edit a whole lot. I prefer to just kind of have this kind of style and format right now until perhaps I can purchase a camera and a USB where I can actually edit and clip videos and things like that, which will take more time, but I know that in return I will get more views, right? And I want to make my channel more information based. I don't want to make it just about entertainment, though that there's a skill in it, right? Just think about Hamza. He's a perfect example. There's like a fine line where you can really focus on basically the advertisement, right? saying things that give the clicks and the views and the attention, and then funneling that into, say, I don't want to just say sales, but funneling that into entrepreneurship and more educational content creation that helps and profits you. I would like to make more people that want to actually learn, that don't just want to consume content, but want to actually learn and want to use what you're learning to grow and benefit, mutual benefit. Eventually, I will get finances and resources that I'll be able to use to spread to a bigger audience and get financial freedom and things like that. And you, sir, ma'am, person, the viewer, you will get the benefit of getting my content, whether it's the free content or whatever I make in the future. And I don't want to just like make this like a kind of buddy thing, you know. I don't want to be insincere and fake. My intent is to produce content that y'all see is worthy of consuming and learning from, and to make online businesses that will be worthy of, seen as worthy of value. It's a little bit of a rant, but that's pretty much what I'm doing and why I did things that I've done. I can explain more in depth, but I think I'm going to leave it at here. This is Theophilus. I thank you for viewing my content, and I will see y'all in the next video.